Do you know a bigot? Can you spot one? Name one. Maybe that family member that swears cereal is the healthiest breakfast. A colleague whose politics are irreproachable? Or a friend who has learnt the undeniable truth from a BuzzFeed article who maybe shouldn't be your friend? Or maybe you? Are you any more self-aware than the bigots you know? Can you even be aware? Zarathustra leaves his Iranian town for the mountains. With the goal of solitude, he sets up camp in a cave and philosophizes for 10 years. This tactic proves overwhelmingly successful, and Zarathustra, now burdened with overbearing wisdom, decides to return to his town to share his discoveries. So, like the bee who has gathered too much honey, he returns home to share his golden gift. He comes across a crowd awaiting a street performance and seizes the opportunity. Here begins Nietzsche's magnum opus. Thus spoke Zarathustra. Imagine a dragon, and that dragon represents the external influences and traditions that you have taken for granted. Each of its scales a belief that you hold, founded on information taken at face value. From your parents' teaching of right from wrong, to now the news offering a filtered lens to the outside world. Accumulated across a lifetime, they have led to the biases that now define you, influencing your interpretation of all new experiences, and polarising your psyche. If you were able to confront the dragon, tearing away the scales, you would ultimately defeat your prejudice. But confronting a dragon is no simple task. Zarathustra defines 3 metamorphoses to achieve this, allowing you to become a person of your own devising, rather than the merely reactive majority, defeating the bigot. The first stage of being is the spirit, at the mercy of worldly influences. This is someone who does not hold any beliefs for fear of being challenged. The cowardly state of mirroring the beliefs of those around them until folding when questioned. This isn't a state to look down upon, as a lack of self-confidence is typically cultivated in a negative feedback loop of withheld serotonin, which has variable vulnerability to genetics. Like the lobster whose will diminishes after each loss and thus likelihood to win decreases every encounter, while the winners will increase, making the next encounter more likely to be successful. Their paths diverge rapidly. In order to move on from this stage, they must rise to the challenge of others and boldly stake their beliefs in confrontations against others. Unfortunately, due to the nature of the mechanisms that govern these mental functions, it may be impossible for the individual to correct. Thus, consulting a medical professional is advisable, as therapy may be required to reverse the process. Either way, transforming you into the camel. The camel is where most people find themselves. Beasts of burden, at the mercy of the dragon, where each of those scales are encumbered and dictate the decisions of the individual. Yes, you are a person of opinions. In the West, theist or not, morals are based on Judeo-Christian values. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, etc. To hold beliefs is courageous and admirable, but the pitfalls of their nature are treacherous. Are you on the right side of the argument? Of history? Are you a person of your own devising, or merely an extension of the opinions you are exposed to? A mouthpiece of the people you look up to? By viewing the world through a lens derived from surface-level aphorisms is to rely on the dragon, inheriting prejudice, just a more robust animal below the shepherd. Enter the lion. To shed these prejudices, you must confront the dragon, like Neo deciding whether to continue in the bliss of ignorance, or confront his reality, and by doing so, subvert all presuppositions built across his lifetime, and recognise them so far removed from reality as fantasy. The lion rejects its societal moral codes and duties. Tearing off the scales is a continual process that requires skepticism of all currently held beliefs, destroying what others have built up inside of you, an incredible feat of self-discipline that casts away the shackles of society and the aims of freedom. But the battle of the lion relies upon the dragon. The goal is not to rely upon archaic traditions, but to move beyond them. When the last scale is discarded, the final stage begins. Zarathustra encourages you. Man is something that shall be overcome. Man is a rope, tied between beast and overman. A rope over an abyss. What is great in a man is that he is a bridge and not an end. You have ventured out, balancing upon the tightrope. The risk is great, and you don't know how far it stretches out beyond you, but you've picked a goal and you're moving towards it. What lies before you is uncharted territory, and this time you have the tools to be in control, to forge the morals and ideals that you will champion. You are the child, faced with a world of unlimited possibility from which you create instead of being dictated by. This state is unending. The child, Neitzsche says, is innocence and forgetting, a new beginning, a sport, a self-propelling will, a sacred yes. No longer reactive but decisive, choosing to not only actively define and redefine beliefs based on new information, but going about life with the child's vigour and curiosity. The crowd laughs at Zarathustra, to which he responds that there is an opposite. The last men, who like sheep will be identical, enjoying simple pleasures while avoiding all risk. As a result, never achieving anything but meaningless happiness. The last men's motto, "We have invented happiness." The crowd cheer and ask Zarathustra to make them into these last men. Above the crowd and Zarathustra, the street performer has begun, a tightrope walker, moving from building to building, and in that moment a jester distracts him from his treacherous journey. By mocking his slow and careful movements, he slips, plunging to the ground beside Zarathustra. After a while, the shattered man recovered consciousness, and saw Zarathustra kneeling beside him. "What are you doing here?" he asks at last. "I have long known that the devil would trip me. Now he would drag me to hell. Would you prevent him?" "By honour, my friend," answered Zarathustra. "All that of which you speak does not exist. There is no devil and no hell. Your soul will be dead even before your body. Fear nothing further." The man looked up suspiciously. "If you speak the truth," he said, "I lose nothing when I lose my life. I am not much more than a beast that has been taught to dance by blows and a few meagre morsels." "By no means," said Zarathustra. "You have made danger your vocation. There is nothing contemptible in that. Now you perish of your vocation. For that I will bury you with my own hands." When Zarathustra said this, the dying man answers no more. But he moved his hand as if he sought Zarathustra's hand in thanks. And so, the anecdote ends with Zarathustra leaving the town. He has caught no men, but only a corpse. The realization comes to him. It is unrealistic to expect the herd to change. So instead of setting out to shepherd the herd, he aims to lure them away from the herd. A bigoted nature is inbuilt. The modern world has created the last men. It is easy to never progress the ladder of metamorphoses and be permanently comfortable. And to defeat the real bigot is to acknowledge and defeat the dogma within you. If they surround you, it is naive to presume that you can change them. But what Neitzsche proposes is that what you can do is lift yourself and those close to you above the ignorance. Sharpen your being and give yourself purpose in the face of nihilism with self-improvement. Do not be a pawn. Embark on the tightrope walker's journey, and do not get distracted, for the abyss is below you. As Neitzsche famously said, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger."